Hey there, and now I'm going to talk about a tactic which is somewhat similar to the deflection, which is the decoy. So remember that in a deflection, we move a piece away from a square because that enemy piece is defending. In this case, what we're doing is we're forcing the enemy piece to move to a square. Let's start with this position. Black is an exchange up, black might exchange queens, but here black found something much stronger, which is a similar idea that we saw in one of the positions that we analyzed when we studied pins and skewers. Here if black plays the move queen to f1, we give a check, but we don't get a skewer because after moving the king, the queen is defended. But instead black forced white's queen to move to a wall square after the move rook f7, and here white resigned, but the main idea is that if white takes, the queen is pinned, we have to take or to give a check as we see later. And after taking the rook, here we get this check, and now we see that the queen is not protected, so we got a skewer and we'll gain a lot of material. I wanted to highlight here that white has another forcing move in this position, which is g5, and here black can simply capture the pawn, because white will not have any checks because the queen is pinned. But a move that we should definitely not play here is the move king to h7, because here white will capture the rook with check. So we need to be careful when playing the move rook to f7 to see if white doesn't have anything forcing, anything winning. But in this case, we would just take on h5 and black would win material. Another typical idea is to bring the king to a wall square in order to attack it. In this position, white played the move rook to h8 to bring the king to h8. We see that this pawn on g6 might be supporting a queen on h7. Here, in fact, we also clear the square. So this move rook to h8 has two purposes, because with the rook on h3, we will not have any checks, but after giving the rook and taking, we play queen to h3, and the only move is king to g8. And after queen to h7, we get another typical checkmate pattern with the queen supported, and here this rook is blocking any escape for black's king. In this position, white really played a brilliant move. At first sight, black seems to be doing fine here, because after, for example, exchanging queens, we would just capture. And this knight on f5 is quite good. I would say at least not worse than this bishop. We see that g4 is covered, so queen to g4 would not work because black would just exchange queens. But in this position, white played the very brilliant rook to g7. And first of all, the knight cannot capture the rook because the knight is pinned. And here black captured the rook. The other option was to play king to h6, but after queen to f4, king takes, and queen to g5, we'll get to a very similar line that leads to checkmate, as we'll see. So after rook to g7, the most natural thing is to capture. And again here, white doesn't have queen to g4 check, but white now has this square, g2, to give a check because the rook left that square. And after king to h7, black can try playing knight to g3, but we would capture with the queen, or playing king to h6, and we will get very similar ideas. And after king to h7, we give a check, and after king to h6, we force this checkmate. Queen to h8, king to g6 is the only move, and after queen to f6, if king to h7, we get this checkmate pattern with the rook and the queen that we analyzed. And after king to h5, we get another common checkmate idea with the queen supported, giving a checkmate to the king. So decoys are similar to deflections, but in this case, instead of moving an enemy piece away from a square, we want to force the piece to move to a square. And similar to deflections, sacrifices are very common here.